30 seconds and counting.
Hey, what's good, yo? Welcome back to another video. It's Anish. I'm joined with Drew and Roman, and we're recording another episode of our Texans podcast. And we have a lot of topics lined up for y'all. We're going to be talking about the number of picks that we have, our pick situation, kind of like more like a mock draft kind of thing. Talk about Hutchinson and Sauce Gardner's performances, and we're going to have like a quick Mills debate because whether or not he's the guy, and just also go over the ceilings for our rookies. And before we start, I just want to tell y'all to hit the subscribe button down below. It would mean a lot to us. And without further ado, let's get started. So the number of picks that we have this year, we have 1 first right now, 1 second, 2 thirds, 1 fourth, no 5th round picks, but 3 6th round picks, and 1 7th round pick. And so if y'all know, last draft we had a similar situation with 3 6th round picks, and Nick Cassera used those to move up in the draft and kind of get like a 5th round pick or something like that. So those numbers can obviously change as long with other player trades like Deshaun Watson or Laremy Tunsil or whatnot. So that number is very fluid right now. It's not set in stone at all. And as y'all know, knowing Nick Cassera, he's going to move up and down in the draft. So those are the numbers right now. So let's go ahead and do a quick mock draft. This is in the scenario that we trade Laremy Tunsil. So right now, as y'all know, we have the 3rd pick in the NFL draft. And so far, Hutchinson went 1. Kyle Hamilton goes 2 to the Lions. So what do y'all think here? I feel like it's pretty obvious here.
Yeah, like you said, pretty obvious. Kayvon Thibodeau was pretty much going to be the number 1 overall pick at the beginning of the season. Then we saw the explosion of Aiden Hutchinson, the Heisman runner-up, great defensive end from Michigan. But I think Kayvon Thibodeau is still the most talented player in the entire draft. So I think it'd be a really easy and simple pick just to get him in, to put him aside of Jonathan Grenard. The Texans really only stud defensive end. Sure, they have Jacob Martin, Jordan Jenkins, guys like that, but that's not going to do it. So I think Kayvon Thibodeau would be the star and anchor of this defense.
Yeah, as I said, it's pretty obvious. Just get Kayvon. Pretty much the consensus number 1 pick for most of the college season until Aiden Hutchinson started turning it on. But as of right now, I still think he's probably going to go number 1, probably the best player. And he falls to us at 3, so just get him the best player on the board.
All right, so we go Kayvon Thibodeau at number 3. And so we did trade Laremy Tunsil to the Bills for the 25th pick in the 1st round. I don't know what other picks we'd get, but so far we just traded him for at least 1 first. Hopefully we'd get at least a 1st and a 2nd, but who knows how that goes. But in this scenario, we just traded him for 1 first round pick. And so at 25, you have a lot of interesting names here. Charles Cross, who's definitely be a good Laremy Tunsil replacement at 25, really good value. What are y'all thinking here?
As you can see, our first need is actually cornerbacks. So let's take a look at the cornerbacks on the board that we can take. I'm thinking one of the first guys got to be Ahmad Gardner, a guy who we'll get into a little bit more later, but he had an amazing game just this past Friday versus Alabama and star receiver Jameson Williams. He only allowed 2 catches with a total of 5 yards and a really big hit on Jameson Williams. He had a great day. I think it'd be an absolute steal at pick 25.
Yeah, 25 is also a guy, Charles Cross. He's been pretty much, I guess, neck and neck, or not neck and neck, but he's considered like the 2nd best tackle, maybe the 3rd best tackle with Evan Neal and then Ecom. But right here, I think we got to go Sauce Gardner. Like our cornerback depth, of course, we got some guys like Desmond King, Tavierre Thomas, Tremont Smith, and guys like that. But we don't have like a true number 1. Now we can just say, hey, go out there, put the receiver on the island, just try to lock him up as best as you can. And getting a guy in Sauce Gardner, I think he's going to be able to be perfect at that. He's more known as like a man type of corner. He could play some zone, but I think he's probably best the man. So it doesn't necessarily fit our scheme, but we're not really drafting for scheme. We're just drafting for best player available in a sense. So yeah, why not get that number 1 lockdown corner that we hope to be? So yeah, I would go Sauce.
Yeah, Sauce makes a lot of sense for us in so many ways, like y'all mentioned. We definitely need talent in that area. So as you can see, I'm getting a lot of trade offers, but we're not gonna accept them. I'm sure Nick Casero would probably accept some of these, but we're just gonna keep on going. Getting it every single pick must be crazy in the war room, getting these constant calls. All right, so now we have the 37th pick, which is the second round. So here are some of the top names. So far we addressed edge and cornerback. I think another major need would probably be our O line at this moment, our inside O line, or probably like a tackle to kind of compensate for the loss of Tunsil since we traded him. What are y'all thinking here?
I'm gonna go with one of my guys, a guy who I really like throughout the entire draft process, and that's Drake London, the wide receiver from USC. I've heard some people say he should be a top 15 pick. He's got absolutely amazing ball skills, a really big target that he can throw to and just trust. I think him next to Nico Collins would be an absolutely deadly combo. Sure, you need a little bit of a speedster, but you can always find a little speedy receiver, gadget kind of player late in the draft. But I think Drake London is destined to be a star in the NFL.
Yeah, I gotta agree. At 6'5", he's an amazing jump ball receiver, and he was also a basketball player, so that just shows how athletic he is. And then to get him right there in the second round, that's insane. I know we'd have two big body receivers, but as Drew was saying, we could probably get a receiver, a faster, shiftier receiver later in the draft. And we also still have Brandon Cook, so we could just use him as like a slot receiver in a way. But as far as Anish was saying about offensive line, we could probably get one maybe later. The offensive tackle from Ohio State, I forgot his name. He went up against Aiden Hutchinson. He kind of got embarrassed against Aiden Hutchinson. What if we could get him maybe like in the? Is he still on the board? I'm not sure. But offensive line, we could probably just get later in the draft. Right now, it's pretty obvious. Get the best player on the board. In my opinion, Drake London.
Yeah, wide receiver is also area of need. We have then our core wide receiver core would be Cooks, Collins, and Drake London. That'd be very awesome to watch. And you also have some great depth with Dorsett and Chris Moore, who are looking to be like great depth guys, and they have shown some flashes here and there. So it looks like Drake London will be an excellent choice here. I know I kept on stressing like O line and whatnot, but it's definitely feel like it doesn't that feels like it needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. Um, but yeah, but those the guys we just got are definitely going to be great additions to this team. So now we're at pick 68, which is in the third round. What are y'all thinking? So far we addressed edge, cornerback, and wide receiver.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean towards the trenches here, either defensive lineman or more of a three tech or one tech actually, because the Texans did draft Kayvon Thibodeau and they already have Jonathan Grenard. And then of course in the offensive line, we are in need of an interior offensive lineman. You know, hypothetically, you can move Titus Howard back at the tackle. You have Jerry Christian, who's been a really solid left tackle for us. But I feel like either way, tackle, offensive guard, interior defensive lineman, can't go wrong here. Let's just take a look at the options real quick. And the first guy in the trenches on the board is going to be Jameer Sawyer from Georgia. He's pretty solid. Let's take a look at his profile a little bit. He's 325 pounds, a big body kind of guy, pretty athletic. And he does fit the power run scheme, which is something that the Texans have tried to emphasize throughout the season. I feel like he could be a solid addition.
Right here, I'm probably going Jameer Sailor, from interior offense lineman Georgia. Right here is listed as an interior offense lineman, but I believe he's been playing left tackle for most of the season, and he did last night. And I'm not sure when this video is going up, but against the game against Michigan, and he pretty much pancaked the hell out of Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson was kind of going the other way. The quarterback was getting out of the pocket, but Sailor, he pancaked Aiden Hutchinson, and you rarely see a top prospect like that get pancaked or get moved around, get tossed around. And he pretty much held his own against Aiden Hutchinson for the whole game. He really didn't allow Hutchinson to get much pressure or much of an impact on the game yesterday. So I'm probably going Sailor right here. Maybe you could put him at maybe right tackle, guard. You can do so many things now. Like he's interchangeable as a lineman.
Yeah, this is honestly like an excellent pick at this round. He was rejected. Like down here, it says that he's projected to be a third round value, but he really showcased himself last night's game. So let's go ahead and draft him. So looks like our draft is looking really good right now. I mean, we have so many great picks. Like, I would be super pleased with this so far. So our next pick is at pick 75. So what are y'all thinking here?
I'm actually gonna lean towards the strong safety position. I feel like there's a chance that our current safety, Justin Reed, does leave the team in free agency, and we already kind of have a hole at the other safety position. We really only have Eric Murray, Terrence Brooks, AJ Moore, Jonathan Owens. And credit to Jonathan Owens, he did have a great game against the Chargers, but I still think that the Texans need another young safety to either go alongside Justin Reed or to fill his role. And already I can see some guys. I do like Jalen Pitre out of Baylor is a very physical safety. I believe I saw Smoke Monday, who is very far down the board out of Auburn, but I love his physicality that he brings to his game. And that's kind of what I look for in a safety, a guy who's not afraid to make a big hit, a big play, really aggressive guy. And if you're an aggressive player, you can always teach a little bit more discipline to them. I just love the energy those guys can bring to the table. And in this case, since Smoke Monday is there, I think we could also look at the interior defensive line position. We got Zachary Carter out of Florida, Tyler Davis out of Clemson, pretty highly stouted guys. I believe Tyler Davis out of Clemson was pretty highly recruited. Let's just take a little bit of a look here. Would be a little early to take Tyler Davis. Maybe he's more of a fourth round kind of guy. And then Zachary Carter. He is a 4-3 defensive end. So that is something. He'd be a scheme fit for us. But what do you guys think here?
Go to the edge real quick. I know we went Kayvon at number 3, but Kingsley Enagbare, I'm not really sure how to pronounce his last name, but he's been his draft stock recently. I think he's been going up. He has potential to go in the second round, maybe late first. I've seen a lot of good talk about him. Personally, I haven't watched too much of him. But I've seen a lot of people say that they're really high on him. He could go in the early second, maybe slide into that late first, maybe to like the Packers or something like that. But I don't think Kingsley would be a bad option here. I do agree we should go maybe safety, that guy from Baylor, or also go back to defensive tackles real quick. Tyler Davis. Click on Tyler Davis. I think he's like 340. Yeah, he went into the school. There, that's them. Right here, I think I'll go Kingsley, in my opinion. I don't know.
Would y'all consider maybe a linebacker as well? Because I know we do have probably will resign Camu, and we do have Kirksey, but linebackers are an integral part of Lovie Smith's defense. So y'all think we should go linebacker here, and the best available one is Brandon Smith from Penn State.
Yeah, and actually I have another idea here. Nick Bonito has been kind of a hybrid linebacker at Oklahoma. He's been able to rush the passer and been pretty solid in coverage, really rangy kind of guy, very athletic. Nick Bonito, to me, I would take him in the first round if I run kind of a versatile 3-4 scheme. Of course, Lovey does run a 4-3 Tampa 2 scheme, but I think he'd be a really valuable and a really talented guy to add to the defense. And Brandon Smith's also a really solid guy.
Yeah, I agree. Get another guy. You could put pretty much anyone on the linebacker core. He's very versatile, pass rushing ability, and as you were saying, able to drop back. And in the Lovie Smith type of defense, why not get him? Add some more hybrid type of players there.
All right,
And
so
another thing about versatility is Nick Casario talks a lot about it. He wants to put guys in the best position, but also wants to be able to move guys around and just see what they can do. And I think that Lovie Smith also talked a lot about versatility when he got Garrett Wallow. He said Garrett Wallow was able to play all 3 linebacker positions, and I feel like Nick Bonito is someone that can also do that. Maybe not necessarily the Mike linebacker position, but the 2 outside backer positions, and then of course some pass rushing ability and some third down passing situations would be nice.
all right, so it looks like we're thinking about drafting Nick Bonito here. And maybe safety is something we address later on, maybe like the guy Drew mentioned later, like Smoke. But I think we only did a 3 round mock draft, just to not to make it too long. And I'm really pleased with their picks right here. So here we are. So we got Thibodeau, Sauce Gardner, Drake London, Jamari Sawyer, and Nick Benito. I think that's a fantastic draft, at least in the first 3 rounds. Honestly, couldn't go like the later rounds wouldn't make me mad because like if we got these guys and just walked away with them, I'd be pretty happy. But what are y'all's thoughts on this overall haul so far?
I I think that it was a really good draft. I mean, I feel like the Texans are 100% going to go best player available. And as you see, we got a lot of talented guys. I would say the pick I'm most iffy about is probably Jameer Sawyer from Georgia. Maybe he's a product of a system, talented guy coming out of high school, and we'll see how he develops. But overall, I really love all these picks. A lot of great value and a lot of great talent.
Oh yeah, we got this good of a draft considering we didn't even trade Watson yet. Imagine when we had the Watson picks, like the draft alone right here is already special. Amar Gardner could be a cornerback one for us. Kayvon Thibodeau, the consensus number one pick. Drake London, probably the fifth best receiver in this draft, arguably fourth. Sawyer, I know maybe Drew might not be too high on him, but if he was able to contain Aiden Hutchinson against Michigan, I mean, he has to have some type of potential. And Nick Benito, a guy you can line up pretty much almost anywhere in the linebacker core. Yeah, very good draft. And then also, as I said, we didn't even get the Watson picks. This is an insane draft.
Yeah. So hopefully y'all now maybe Nick Cassera can pull something off like that for us. But let's just kind of talk more about that Aiden Hutchinson and Sauce Gardner's games yesterday. What did y'all see from him? I know Hutchinson they lost, both Sauce and Hutchinson lost. Cincinnati lost, Michigan lost, but Hutchinson didn't have had a so game, didn't have a great game. And Sauce Gardner, he had a great game covering Jameson Williams. Um what are y'all thoughts on both of those guys?
Yeah, I'll start with Sauce Gardner. Looked like Alabama was honestly scared to throw to his side. Cincinnati does have two excellent corners in Kobe Bryant and Sauce Gardner, but Sauce Gardner was having none of that. He showed physicality. He was able to lock down an entire half of the field. And if you're able to shut down an elite receiver like Jameson Williams, we know he has the speed, the strength of route running to be an elite receiver in the NFL. Jameson Williams is surely going to be great, but Sauce Gardner showed that he really did get the best of him. If you can get the best of one of those guys, first of all, your stock's going to go up. And second of all, you're going to be a great player in the NFL. I really love what I saw from Sauce Gardner. And from Aiden Hutchinson, I wouldn't really knock the guy too much for how he played. I mean, obviously, Georgia got off to a big lead. Michigan was down. Aiden Hutchinson just wanted to really win the game. So he was doing whatever he could do. And so he did get a little aggressive, got a little too, like, inside, outside, and the quarterback was scrambling. He was way too far inside on a couple of plays. He was just trying to rush the passer and get to him. But otherwise, I wouldn't knock Aiden Hutchinson. I still think that he could be the number one pick to the Lions, to the Jaguars, even. And then I couldn't see Aiden Hutchinson going anywhere past number 5 overall. And Sauce Gardner, to me, is definitely a top 15 pick after his performance today.
Yeah, Sauce had an amazing game. As you are saying, he only allowed 2 catches for Jameson. Only 5 yards as well. And he also kind of put those unable to tackle, I guess, knocks on him kind of to bed. He had a really good hit on Jameson Williams. And then he had a very good game yesterday in terms of coverage and tackling both. So yeah, he kind of proved his worth, proved he could be that number one corner. And Alabama ran the ball 47 times yesterday and only passed 28. It just showed that, I mean, for the most part, they had the game under control. I guess you could say that. But they were just scared to throw the ball. Like, they're not going to throw the ball either on Kobe Bryant's side or Sauce Gardner's side. Like, they're just not going to do it. And then as far as Aiden Hutchinson, yeah, I don't really think it does too much to his value. I think Kayvon still goes number one, or at least is the first defensive end or edge taken off the board. I don't really think Aiden Hutchinson, he has had a very good end of the season, but I don't think enough to go like the number one. Like Kayvon Thibodeau has been the consensus number one pick pretty much for almost a year now. I don't think it's really going to change. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is still going to be the first edge taken, but I don't think yesterday's game really had nothing to do with Aiden's value.
Yeah, I think for as terms of stock wise, like Sauce Gardner's stock definitely improved. Obviously going against Alabama and showing out. And I asked y'all earlier, and y'all said like he'd be like a top 15 pick, and I probably agree with that. And as far as Hutchinson goes, a lot of people are saying like, oh, like he is dominating in the Big Ten, and now when he goes against SEC talent, he didn't do so well. And like, what does that say about when he plays against better competition? Does he not perform as well? So that's like one of the biggest concerns right now against Hutchinson. But I don't think his stock will affect it too much. I don't think his stock is like hype driven like some other prospects, but I think he's still worth a top three pick from what we've seen. But let's move on to our next segment about Davis Mills. And so far, like y'all have seen, Davis Mills has been stringing along together great performances. As of recently, he didn't start his season too great, but he's a rookie quarterback thrown into the fire, obviously. So he didn't start off too great, but he slowly started to have very solid performances and not turning over the ball too much and performing better at home than away. So that's certainly something to watch. And I believe the Texans are playing at the 49ers stadium. So that's definitely something to look out for, and like playing at their stadium away crowd and against a good defense as well. So that's something to look out for. But a lot of people are starting to crown Davis Mills as the franchise quarterback, and I like Davis Mills, but I want to crown him, but I just want to see more performances. So it's just like me being patient, not knocking down on him at all. Just want to see more of those great performances. Show some more of his arm talent. Because that's when we like last game, that's when we started to see more of his arm talent. And the other ones, not so much, but this past one, yes. And so some of those like completions were more of like the wide receiver making a play than the quarterback, but he still did a great job, like in terms of kind of giving like making sure the wide receiver was the person who could get that ball, and he trusted his wide receivers to make plays and things like that. So for me, it's just being patient for Davis Mills. Definitely deserves to start next season. Don't think we need to draft a quarterback. I think I'm confident in saying that, but I don't know. Some people are pretty quick to crown him as a franchise quarterback. But what do y'all think about that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you just said there. And let's just kind of go over a couple of things about Davis Mills. He clearly had a rough start to his career. He had a practice in preseason where he threw 5 interceptions, and word got out to all the fans, and they were very unhappy to say the least. And then, of course, when he was drafted, he was our first pick of the entire draft in the third round, which makes matters even worse that we even had the situation where our first pick was in the third round. Fans were angry, and I think now the Texans community is split on Davis Mills. It's hard to, you know, crown a guy, but some fans really do. They like what they've seen from Davis Mills, and some people just think that, oh, he's not Deshaun Watson, and he'll never be Deshaun Watson. Davis Mills doesn't have to be Deshaun Watson, in my opinion. Davis Mills can be the guy. Davis Mills can or he can just be simply a game manager, and I won't be mad at that at all. But you also cannot compare the two. They're two completely different people, two completely different players. And Davis Mills has really just been growing and growing and growing. And let's take a little bit look at his stats, over the regular season. He has a completion percentage of 66.6. He has 2,200 passing yards for 12 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. But on the road, he's had 776 passing yards, a completion percentage of 62.5, and 8 interceptions. So he's only thrown 1 interception at home. His completion percentage goes down by about 6% if you look at it from an average standpoint. So he's really seems to be more comfortable at home, and that's not something that I like to see. I need to see a lot more from Davis Mills, especially on Sunday versus the 49ers. Whatever time we're recording this, the Texans are about to play the 49ers on the road. And Davis Mills was a little bit excited because, as you know, Davis Mills was the Stanford quarterback. He's from that area, the Bay Area, and it will be a little bit of a homecoming for him. So maybe he'll be a little more comfortable. This game is really huge for Davis Mills because I think that if he can go on the road against a good defense, against a team that's fighting for the playoffs, it'll definitely sway my opinion a little bit more, convince me a little bit more that he's the guy. I'm certainly not going to crown him, but I certainly think that this game is really big for him, and that if he plays well, he could certainly be the guy.
Yeah, I think it's way too early to crown him as pretty much anything. You really can't crown him as what he's gonna be. Like nobody knows what he's gonna be as of right now. For all we know, he's just a medical backup, or he could be a high end backup, or maybe he's just become like just a guy that's on a football team and really has not much to do. Or he can become a franchise starter. Like there's all those possibilities. Nobody knows what he's gonna be. It's way too early to tell. He's had some good games, aka the Patriots game, and then also this past game. And then he also had some bad games against the Buffalo Bills, Indianapolis, of course, Arizona. So he's had like a mixture of everything. Okay games, good games, and then absolutely terrible games. Like he's had a couple of each. So it's way too early to really say anything as far as franchise quarterback, bust, or any of that. And we also got to take in consideration. Look at the situation he came into. He came into a situation where he was quarterback, I guess quarterback two, which I mean, it's not a problem. Obviously, third round rookie, you would expect him to be quarterback two. But he came into the season or into training camp getting quarterback two reps. He had to deal with all of the Deshaun stuff, all of the media being there, and then also hearing all the bad stuff from him about training camp. Oh, 5 picks. Oh, what a waste of a pick. Oh, this and that. He had to listen to all of that. He went into the season, and then against what was his first start thing against Carolina. Um, his first start against Carolina, he was okay. He made one really, really good throw. I think it was before halftime, right before halftime. So he's made some very big time throws where it looks like at times he could become a franchise quarterback for us. But as I said, he's also had some bad games, some bad throws, aka the Bills game. I think he had like 4 interceptions that game, something like that. But what's also to be taken into consideration is he's the rookie quarterback who has the most 300-yard games so far, and he's also started, I think, less than of course less than Trevor Lawrence. I'm not sure how many games more or less he has than Zach Wilson. I think they're around the same. I'm not really too sure. But the fact he has more 300-yard games, to be a third-round rookie, to have way less talent around him, to have zero run game, except for this past game, but for most of the season had zero run game. Nico Collins, solid weapon. Brevin Jordan, solid weapon. Brandon Cook, solid weapon, but none of them are like over the top. And I guess you could say that for all the rookie quarterbacks. None of them have like a weapon that's over the top, but most of them at least have a solid average run game, other than Davis Mills. Like he has nothing. Like, of course, you can go back to this game, but yeah, I think it's just way too early to crown him as anything. I'm excited for the growth he has, and I do think he definitely should start next year for 2022. Get him some weapons this offseason, maybe draft a receiver, draft a running back, get him a run game. But yeah, I think he's shown enough potential to where he could at least be something for us, whether it be a backup or a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I think the argument is that like other fans who are already crowning Mills are saying like he's clearly outperforming the other rookie quarterbacks of his draft class. But why are Texans fans so critical of Mills and not crowning him as their franchise quarterback when other fan bases are crowning like say like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or Zach Wilson as their franchise quarterback, even though they're not performing as well as Mills is? And that, I feel like that's certainly a valid argument for sure. And that's more the reason, like even then for the other guys, it's mainly because I feel like that argument comes from where they were drafted. Because like they feel like since they're in the first round, they're obviously a franchise talent. That obviously necessarily isn't the case because you can obviously bust in the first round. I'm not calling Zach Wilson, Fields, or Lawrence a bust by any means, or Mac Jones a bust, but I think that just comes from people kind of too hesitant to call a third round pick a franchise quarterback. But we've seen in history like Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott being third and fourth round rookie quarterbacks, like quarterbacks taken in those rounds and becoming franchise talents for their respective teams. So obviously there is a chance for Davis Mills to be our franchise quarterback. It's just like the so it's very hard. So like we've all been like saying this whole video, this whole podcast is just to be patient with him and see what he's got to show for like the rest of the season, see if he finishes out strong. And so yeah, I mean Davis Mills has been outperforming some of the other quarterbacks this year. So I mean that's a valid argument, just need to be patient and see a bigger sample size.
Yeah, I have to 100% agree with you. And I think regardless of what happens in these next two games, he 100% deserves to be the starter for next season. He's been doing this with very limited weapons. He hasn't even had Brandon Cooks for every single game. He didn't have Brandon Cooks in his past game, which was only his second win of his entire career. He was able to do it, and he was also able to do it with a really good running game. That just tells you that Davis Mills, with the talent around you, a solid running game, and at least solid receivers, and certainly a much better play caller than Tim Kelly, he could definitely be something. And obviously, this goes for all quarterbacks, and this goes for every team in the NFL. But you have to be able to surround people with talent for everybody to succeed as a whole. So to not give Davis Mills a chance next season would absolutely make me angry, upset. So he deserves to be the guy, and I trust Nick Casario to know that. Trust him to, just draft best player available like we did in our mock draft, put talent around him like we did with Drake London, and just let it ride. Let Mills take over for this season. If he's not the guy, he's not the guy. There's plenty of draft prospects, especially at the quarterback position, and not this draft, but next draft that we could possibly replace him with. But I think Davis Mills deserves to be the starter next season, no matter what happens.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. He should start next year. Like, there's no reason to draft a quarterback this year or really sign any veteran and make him the starter next year. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Just let Davis Mills play, get him some talent, as you're saying, get him a run game, get him a very solid run game like we had this previous game, and see what he can do. As you were saying, he showed what he can do with the run game, with solid weapons. He's getting more comfortable with guys like Brevin Jordan on third down. So it seems like he's getting some I guess targets that he trusts, that he favors. So if Davis Mills and Brevin Jordan can become a tandem, a duo that are really, really good on third downs, that's gonna be something special. Nico Collins, of course, in the red zone. Just different guys like around all over the field. Like if you can get guys like that, very solid weapons, run game, he has very well potential to be something.
Yeah, I think also one thing we could definitely consider is maybe getting some competition in the quarterback room, maybe like let Tyrod go, maybe signing, we posed this question on our Twitter before at Custody ENTX, maybe signing Tyler Huntley, who has been a very good in Lamar's absence, has been playing well. And so I definitely think that he could be someone who we can just bring along, and if Davis plays better than him, he will obviously win the job. But I mean, all quarterbacks should have competition in the quarterback room, at least for now. Since for a rookie quarterback, and since he hasn't played so many games for us to clearly like know in our hearts that he's our franchise quarterback, I definitely think like getting someone along as a backup quarterback, or someone to give him some competition, is definitely worthwhile. Um, so that's something we can do. But moving on, let's just talk about the ceilings of rookie. So obviously, let's talk about Davis Mills. So ceilings wise, he can definitely be, like Drew said, mentioned earlier, like a game manager type of guy. So I think like he's not someone who's gonna make the most flashiest plays. Like he started showing that in the Chargers game, but he's gonna be like a game manager type of guy. He won't turn the ball over, and he's gonna like drive down the field. Well, like he's just gonna control the clock, just like drain the clock, because you know that some of these like drives are like 7 minute drives or 6 minute drives, and that's definitely like a really cool like ability for a quarterback, just to know like game management, I guess, in some ways. Obviously, like Tim Kelly and like Cully probably like tell him what to do or what plays to do, but knowing, being aware of that is definitely helpful for someone like Davis Mills. What do y'all think, like the kind of ceiling wise? I don't know what kind of player comparison I would say, but do y'all have someone in mind like ceiling for Davis Mills?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have a ceiling. Would definitely say Kirk Cousins. Kind of the same, similar stature, similar attributes. You look at a little bit of mobility, pretty calm quarterback in the huddle and in the pocket. I just think he has to continue to grow. Tim Kelly said this week that he's not a puppy anymore, and that they're gonna let him loose and let him do better. Playbook's gonna be a little more open, but his ceiling is definitely a kind of a game manager type guy. Can he be above that? Definitely. I can definitely see him having a big Kirk Cousins type game where Kirk Cousins the second game, so he threw for 400 yards before. Of course, he has talent around him, but Kirk Cousins feels like a fair comparison for him.
Yeah, I think maybe a guy like Ryan Tannehill in a way. If he has a run game, has some weapons, some wide receivers, a very good system around him, he's gonna be able to look better than what he really is. I'm not saying Davis Mills is bad by any means, but like if you have a right system, you can make the quarterback look better than what he really is. I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill is bad or not as good as he really shows, but like if you know what I mean, like a right system makes anybody look better. And if you get a system like that, a heavy run game, maybe a couple of solid tight ends, a couple of big body outside receivers like we have in Nico Collins, a big body, and then if you go as well as Mock did, Drake London, two big body receivers, put them on the outside, help block for the running back, on the outside, and then of course some passing plays in the red zone, big body receivers, and then of course you'll have Brevin Jordan in the tight end spot. So if you could get him like the right system, maybe like a Ryan Tannehill type of quarterback, a little bit of mobility, able to get out of the pocket, make some throws, able to maybe get that first down if it's like a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, something like that. So I think the Ryan Tannehill comparison is kind of around there.
All right, yeah. I mean, I definitely like the Kirk Cousins comparison. Not so sure about Ryan Tannehill in terms of speed. I mean, Davis Mills did have a very solid 40-yard dash, if you want to say that for speed. But yeah, I mean, those are very interesting comparisons. But I think ceiling wise, Davis Mills can be a franchise quarterback for us, ceiling wise. And so let's talk about Nico Collins. Obviously, a big dude, 6'4", 215 pounds, and his 40-yard dash was 4.43 seconds. So very big and fast wide receiver, Nico Collins, and he's making a lot of great catches and like really moving the chains often. And Mills is starting to look at him more and more. Their chemistry is improving. So I think in terms of ceiling wise, Nico Collins can be really something special. Like those attributes and that kind of catchability, Nico Collins really showed that at least coming out of college, like really bailing out his quarterback, making contested catches really often. So he can be really something special. But in terms of player comparisons, what do you all think for ceilings?
Ooh, I mean, I don't even have a comparison for Nico Collins. You don't typically see a guy who's 6'4", can run about I think it was like a 4.46 ish 40-yard dash. That's pretty uncommon. But I guess you could say like a Marquez Valdez-Scantling kind of guy, really solid wide receiver number 2 on the Green Bay Packers. Not necessarily as tall, but I feel like they're both pretty similar in the way they move, the way they play. Nico Collins is actually pretty good in space and has been pretty good after the catch. So he's really a well-rounded kind of guy. And I love that he also brings that physical jump ball aspect to him. So his ceiling is kind of limitless at this point. You don't see a guy with attributes like Nico Collins. So the sky's the limit for him.
As far as comparison, like his ceiling, I'm not really sure what guy would give him. I guess Marquez Scaling makes sense, but as far as like ceiling, I don't really know. But play style, I'm gonna go ahead and say like former Texans, Andre Johnson in a way, the way his running style, like when he has the ball and his route run. I mean, route running, no, nowhere near that. But if he can improve his route run, the way he runs, like his size, very identical weight, very identical speed, I think as well. Big body guys, throw it up there. They're most of the time gonna go get it. I mean, we've seen it a couple of times from Nico. A couple of touchdowns have been called back, but his ability to jump up, make the catch, make the grab is very uncommon, as you were saying, by wide receiver. Like the speed match, his height match, everything about him. And then I guess a little bit of DeAndre Hopkins, also like that way to go up and get the ball, gonna catch the ball, gonna be able to bail the quarterback out, just throw it up there. He's gonna be able to get it. I guess most of the time. But as far as ceiling wise, I don't really know. But play style, I guess a little bit like Dre and then Hop.
Yeah, I mean his comparisons coming out of the draft were N'Keal Harry and Devin Funches, but I don't want to put that evil on him for N'Keal Harry. But I think yeah, Nico Collins is something it's a very rare talent. So it's kind of hard to predict the ceiling, but the sky is definitely the limit for Nico Collins. So I was definitely excited to see how good he can become. And next, we'll talk about Brevin Jordan, who's starting to get more and more snaps. And he's been the third down machine. Like Davis Mills has been looking on him. Like at least in the Chargers game, I think I counted like 3 to 4 times that Brevin Jordan converted a third down, and that's really like very very key. And his like catching ability, run after catch ability is very special. So I think I've been seeing around floating on Twitter that he's like that our next Travis Kelce. I don't know if he can be that, but if he can be something close to that, that'd be absolutely amazing. And he's definitely been, I would argue, a top 2 tight end this year. You can argue with Pat Fairmouth from the Steelers, and I think there's someone else who might be in contention for it, but I think Brevin Jordan has been the top 2 rookie tight end this year, right behind Kyle Pitts. What do y'all think his ceiling could be?
His ceiling is kind of like Nico Collins. They're both very unique players. Absolutely, the definition of untapped potential. I know in Miami we saw Brevin Jordan be used in the slot out wide as well and at tight end. Really good after the catch kind of guy. Like you said, Travis Kelce is a pretty good comparison. I'll actually go with a higher upside Gerald Everett, a very fast tight end who was on the Rams last season, is now on the Seahawks. We haven't seen too much from Brevin in blocking situations, but that's really just because he's a rookie and the Texans aren't going to put him in those situations. So he really just comes in and we're going to pass the ball or play action where he can just slip out a little bit. But I think a high upside Gerald Everett is a really good ceiling. I always thought Gerald Everett was a really underrated tight end. But Brevin Jordan, like I said, untapped potential. The sky's the limit. He possesses all the traits you wanted in a tight end. Just gonna work on that blocking a little bit more. I know there's a knock on him. And he had some injury problems in college, but we haven't seen that as an issue so far. So really excited for his future.
Yeah, I think you'd be like a poor man's Travis Kelce for us. You could do so many different things with him. You could put him in the slot. You can put do tight end screens. You can do very weird plays where it's like a tight end shovel pass, like how the Chiefs do with Travis Kelce. Like you can do a variety of different things. Like he could be our primary weapon on offense if he can continue progressing as a pure player. But there's so many things he can do. I think a Gerald Everett comparison is also pretty solid. But as far as like maybe potential, obviously not going to be as good as Travis Kelce, very unlikely. But like as I was saying, a poor man's Travis Kelce, kind of center the offense around him, maybe in the red zone, a big body guy. Just do a variety of different things. You can do almost any type of offense with him.
All right, and next is Roy Lopez, who has been really great for us this season, being in the 6th round, and being such a valuable guy on our D line, who's been a starter since week 1. Absolutely amazing, and he's been like even like among the NFL, he was like one of like the top run defenders for a while, and so I think some comparisons I've seen or in terms of ceiling was like Vita Vea on the Buccaneers. But I think like after off season of training, I think Roy Lopez can definitely be like a huge staple to our team on defense. And I'm pretty high on Roy Lopez. Just like watching his tape out of college, he was very polished in terms of like technique, hand placement, everything. So that's really I'm even to this day I'm still surprised how he fell so far, probably because he played in like New Mexico State and not so known college and against like not so good competition. But I think Roy Lopez is definitely going to be someone who's going to be part of her D line for a while.
Yeah, I have to agree with you right there. I would like to say, Roy Lopez was actually a boxer, I believe, or a wrestler. I think at Arizona he was a wrestler. So that hand placement does come a little bit from there. And like you said, Vita Vea is kind of a fair comparison, one of the best run stoppers in the entire NFL. Obviously, Roy Lopez is not nearly as big as Vita Vea. I think he's a little bit shorter too. So if Roy Lopez can beef up, he can really be that guy that we've been looking for since the Texans did let go of DJ Reader in about 3 years ago in the controversial free agency. So I'm really excited to see what Roy Lopez can do. He's a little bit on the older side, and he did transfer from Arizona to New Mexico State. So he was in college for a while and has played a lot of football. But for his position, I think he's a guy you can just plug and play anywhere, and he's a guy that is just going to be solid on the defense. So it was a really great value pick, and I think he's going to be really good for our future.
Yeah, I think Vita Vea, very solid comparison. Very good run stopper, as we were saying. And to come in here as a rookie, I know he's like, what, I think 24, 23, 24-ish. But if you can go into the offseason, get faster, get more pure muscle, get stronger, he's going to really be able to control the trenches. And that's what we really need him to do. If he can control like the interior defensive line, kind of get the offensive line to put two guys in. Like if you can get two blockers on you, they'll be huge for the defense, for the rest of the defense. It can help the defensive ends get more pressure. If you want to blitz linebackers, get more pressure. But eventually I would love to see teams double team Roy Lopez, I guess. Maybe not in the sense of like pass in the passing game, but in the run game. Like if teams could double team him, get the linebackers more room to come up, make the tackle. But yeah, he's going to be a very important piece of our defense for the future. I really, really love him. I think he's been probably so far our best rookie so far, I think.
Yeah, and let's talk about Garrett Wallow. Obviously we haven't seen too much of Garrett Wallow. But in the short in like the first game or the second game that he played, he absolutely stood out at like, I don't know, I feel like I'm saying this wrong, but like about like 12 tackles or something crazy like that. So I definitely think he can be probably, I don't know about ceiling wise, he's definitely like a great leader shown from TCU, and shows decent speed. But in the Chargers game, he didn't have had a so game. He kind of got like missed tackles and things like that. So I don't know in terms of ceiling. We just need to see more of him. I feel like he's kind of one of those guys I don't know how to say this, but like kind of like we don't really. It's kind of one of those glue guys kind of thing. Like ceiling wise, I don't really know what kind of comparison to say for Garrett Waller. Like I said, it's kind of too early to say ceiling wise because we just haven't seen enough from him. But do y'all have any comparisons for him?
Yeah, I actually been thinking about this comparison for a little bit. I would say he's going to be like his teammate, Kamu Grugier-Hill. Um, kind of following the same career path, actually. Kamu Grugier-Hill was a special teamer for the Patriots and the Eagles, and he plays really fast and gives a lot of effort. We saw Garrett Wall lead the team in tackles in the Jacksonville game with 12 tackles, I do believe. And of course, that was when all the linebackers were injured, and he stepped in and did really well. He's going to be a guy who's going to be a solid backup and a fringe starter who you can kind of just put there, not worry too much about as long as he develops because he's going to give it your all. He's going to put the effort in. He was kind of like a sideline linebacker, actually, which I really love about him. Those are kind of hard to find nowadays, but he's got to be more disciplined. He's got to fix his eyes a little bit, not bite a little too hard on which side the run goes, play action. He's got to get a little better in coverage. But I think as long as he improves and under the right coaching and development, he could be a fine player.
Yeah, Garrett Waller, he's a guy that's, I guess, perfect for cover two. I don't really know about comparisons. I guess coming with Bruiser Hill, very solid comparison, but he's a guy you can just plug into cover two, tempo two, and he's a linebacker that's gonna be energy all over the field. Like he's not necessarily gonna be very good at just one thing. He's gonna be a guy that's pretty, I guess, average in a way at doing everything. Pass coverage is gonna be okay. Run stopping is gonna be okay. He's going to be okay at pretty much everything. And if that's what he is, it's perfectly fine. Like if he can be a very solid rotational piece in our defense, he doesn't have to be a starter by any means. He doesn't have to be that, I guess, that second guy there. But as long as he can be a solid rotational piece, especially drafting him that late in the draft, that's a very good win by Nick Caserio. And he had one really, really good play against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it was like a 4th-and-1, 4th-and-2, something in that range, where he made a really good tackle for loss. That really changed, I guess, the dimension of the game, if that's the right word. But he's been having some really solid games. Of course, the Chargers game wasn't the best, but the game before that, the Jaguars, very good game. If he could be a solid rotational piece for us, that'll be very good.
All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the podcast. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed. We went over a lot of things like mock draft situation picks, potential prospects, Davis Mills, and predicting our ceilings for our rookies. Definitely going to be the most exciting off seasons in Texans history. Can I say that? Is it too early to say that? I guess there's so many moving pieces and so many things that could happen. Also, in terms of coaching changes that may happen, like there's a lot of smoke that we're gonna fire Cully. I don't know who we're gonna hire. There's been smoke that we might hire Josh McDaniels. So this is going to be a very, very interesting off season in general. So thank y'all for listening if you made it this far. But be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.